Good morning. The U.S. presidential election is in progress in some states, and voting or casting of ballots has concluded in certain other states. This is due to the differences in time zones, depending on where you are. If you're in New York, well, it's about 8:30 p.m. But if you are in other states, it could be as early as 5 p.m. So voting is still ongoing. But from sources, what I've been told is that it looks like it's going to be a landslide for Donald Trump. A landslide victory for Donald Trump. So I'm calling it. I'm calling the election. I'm saying that it'll be a landslide in favor of Donald Trump. This is the most watched election in U.S. history, modern U.S. history. And it looks like the whole world is watching. You know, after months of intense campaigning, vitriolic slander from especially from one side against Trump. So everybody is curious how this is going to pan out, considering that polls from various sources, which I don't believe, I never believed them for 1 minute, suggest that this was a close or a tight race. It never was. I don't think so. I think that it was never close. It was always in favor of Trump, particularly after Kamala came in as a parachute candidate to replace Biden in what amounted to a coup, ironically by the Democratic Party, which is supposedly anchored in democracy. So what we're going to witness, assuming I'm right, that this is going to be a landslide in favor of Trump, is a complete shift in the political landscape in the US, where states that previously were associated with the Democratic Party are going to turn red, and that means become Republican. It will also signal a complete shift from liberal views to the more conservative views by the Republicans in the US. That'll be the first in decades. Yeah, the U.S. shifting from being a known liberal state to becoming a more conservative state. Okay, that'll be interesting, and this is going to impact on relations between the U.S. and various other nations. Trump, during his first presidency, he came as an outsider with little to no experience in politics, not knowing many people who were in heavyweights in politics, not having the kind of context, the kind of network that was needed for him to run effectively as a president. But now he's coming in very experienced in the field of politics, having a vast network of heavyweights who could assist him in his administration, and more importantly, this is his final term if he wins as president, and therefore he will not be hindered in what he does or in his quest to bring about reforms. Okay, so that is Trump. And from what I've been told, early voting, the turnout favored Republicans. Republicans came out in droves, and the counting that has been going on seems to favor Trump, even in key battleground states. So it seems to point to the idea that the polls were inaccurate. And but to conclude, I'm just going to say it again. I think this is a landslide. However, we might know the results as early as 2 p.m. Malaysian time or as late as Thursday or Friday. The reason being, if you remember in 2016 when Trump won, the results were known as early as 3 a.m. the next day. But in 2020, when Trump contested against Biden, the results was known 3 days later. This was due to early voting, mail voting, which took, in certain states, it took that long to count all the votes. So Americans only knew 3 days later who the president was. But it was a close race. This race, if it is a landslide, if the gap between the votes that Kamala gets and the votes that Trump gets is wide enough, then even though certain states have not completed their counting, but we will still know the results as early as 2 p.m. Malaysian time. So that's all for now. Yeah. See, until we meet again.